There is a specific moment that happens to millions of people every single month. They look at their bank account, they look at their debt, and they realize that no matter how hard they work, the number barely moves. They are not spending recklessly. They are not ignoring it. They are doing everything they were told to do, and it is not working. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why that happens, and the counterintuitive strategy that actually breaks the cycle permanently. Picture this. You get a raise at work. For about 2 weeks, you feel relief. Then the credit card statement arrives, and you realize the raise was already absorbed by the interest that quietly compounded while you were busy living your life. Or maybe you paid off one card, felt proud, and somehow ended up with a new balance 6 months later. You are not bad with money. You are caught in a system that is specifically engineered to keep you exactly where you are. Here's what makes it worse. Debt does not stay still, it grows. The average household carrying a balance pays more in interest every year than they spend on groceries. That is not an exaggeration. That is the math working against you in real time. And the cruel part is that minimum payments are designed to feel manageable. They are not designed to get you out. They are designed to keep you in, paying as long as possible, so that the lender collects 3 to 4 times what you originally borrowed. So what do most people do? They try harder. They cut expenses aggressively, cancel subscriptions, stop eating out, maybe pick up a side gig. And sometimes it helps for a while. But then life happens. A car repair, a medical bill, a slow month, and suddenly everything they built up unravels. This approach fails not because the person lacks discipline, but because it treats debt like a spending problem. It is not. Cutting costs alone is like bailing water from a sinking boat without ever patching the hole. There is a reason this cycle keeps repeating that almost nobody talks about. It is not about the interest rate. It is not about income. It is not even about habits. Not really. The real reason is something deeper, something built into the way your brain processes financial decisions under pressure. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The people who escape debt fastest are not the ones who sacrifice the most. They are the ones who understand something fundamentally different about how debt actually works. Here is the core mechanism. When you are in debt, your brain enters a state called scarcity mindset. Research from Harvard and Princeton shows that financial pressure literally reduces cognitive bandwidth, the same mental capacity you need to make smart decisions. So you make short-term choices, not because you are irrational, but because your brain is overloaded. You pay the minimum because it relieves the anxiety today. You avoid looking at the total balance because the number is paralyzing. The debt is not just a financial problem, it is a psychological one. Studies comparing how wealthy households versus average households respond to debt reveal something striking. It is not that wealthy people have more willpower. It is that they make debt decisions from a place of clarity, not panic. They treat debt as a math problem with a sequence. Average earners treat it as an emotional emergency they need to escape from immediately. That difference in framing changes every single decision that follows, from which debt to pay first, to whether they open a new line of credit, to how they respond when things go wrong. Here's the data that should stop you cold. A person with $10,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest, paying only the minimum, will take over 30 years to pay it off and pay more than $30,000 total. But if that same person pays just $50 more per month, not a dramatic sacrifice, they pay it off in under 5 years and save over $20,000. The math is not the hard part. The hard part is making one clear-headed decision and sticking to a sequence. That is what the strategy is built on. Here is the single reframe that changes everything. Stop thinking about debt as something to escape emotionally. Start thinking about it as a system to dismantle strategically. The moment you shift from reacting to debt to managing it like a project with phases and milestones, your brain stops being paralyzed and starts being useful. You are not fighting your way out. You are engineering your way out. And that shift, from emotional to strategic, is exactly what unlocks the counterintuitive tactics that actually work. Principle 1. Sequence beats intensity. Most people try to pay down all their debts a little at a time. It feels fair and balanced. But it is financially catastrophic. The counterintuitive move is to make minimum payments on everything, then throw every extra dollar at one single debt, strategically chosen. There are two schools here. The avalanche method targets the highest interest rate first and saves you the most money. The snowball method targets the smallest balance first and wins psychologically. The best method is the one you will actually stick to. Principle 2. Build a small buffer before you attack debt aggressively. This sounds backwards. Why hold cash when you're paying 20% interest? Because without a buffer, every financial surprise destroys your momentum and sends you back to credit. Research shows that people with even $1,000 in liquid savings are dramatically less likely to miss debt payments or take on new debt after an emergency. The buffer is not an investment. It is a psychological circuit breaker that prevents the cycle from restarting every time life happens. Principle 3. Negotiate the debt itself. Most people assume the interest rate on their debt is fixed and non-negotiable. It is often not. Credit card companies lower rates for customers who call and ask, especially those with a history of payment. Balance transfer cards exist for a reason. Debt consolidation loans can cut your effective rate in half. Negotiating with creditors is not shameful. It is smart. Every percentage point you eliminate from the interest rate is money that goes toward the principal instead of disappearing forever into the lender's pocket. Now here's where people go wrong, even when they understand all of this. Mistake 1. They celebrate a paid-off debt by upgrading their lifestyle immediately, erasing the freed-up cash flow before it can do any work. Mistake 2. They do not close the behavioral loop. They pay down debt, but keep using the card that created it. Mistake 3. They quit after one setback. One unexpected expense derails the plan and they go back to minimum payments forever. The strategy is not fragile, but the commitment to it is. Protecting that commitment is part of the work. Here's what you do starting today. This week, write down every debt you have, balance, interest rate, minimum payment. Total them. This is your battlefield map. Next, set up a $1,000 emergency buffer if you do not have one. Then choose your method, avalanche or snowball, and automate the extra payment on your first target debt starting this month. Call your highest rate creditor this week and ask for a rate reduction. One call, 5 minutes. It works more often than you think. Review your progress every 30 days, not every day. Daily checking feeds anxiety. Monthly review feeds momentum. Here's the question I want to leave you with, and I genuinely want to know your answer. Most people know that carrying high-interest debt is destroying their financial future. They know the math, they have seen the numbers, and yet millions of them will go to bed tonight making no change. So this is not really a question about strategy. It is a question about identity. Do you see yourself as someone who is in debt, or someone who is temporarily using a strategic process to eliminate it? Because that distinction, more than any tactic, is what actually determines the outcome.